AI Pics podcast, episode 1. How's it going?
First
I'm
one.
Dave. Oh, dude, we should change our names, Carrie.
Oh yeah,
All right, at least
yeah.
I should change my name. Hold on. How
You're
do I do
going
that?
by. You're just gonna edit this all out? No, leave it.
One sec. How can I change
Leave
my
it.
name? Is it
You
too
go.
late?
I don't
That's
know.
stupid. I
The
can't leave
settings.
it.
Why is it wrong?
It says ADH Dave. I just want to be Dave.
A movie Carrie, because it's a different kind.
I
of
guess I
Carrie.
could be ADH Dave for one episode. That's
one
fine.
episode. Nobody's gonna care.
One
Nobody's
episode,
gonna
I'm
care.
ADH Dave. We're rolling
Exactly.
with
We're
it.
just. It makes sense.
I think they know you.
They know, they know. Yeah. So this is a show about movies. And okay, so let's do introductions in case
And
people
computers.
don't know. I'm Dave. I have no professional movie reviewing prowess or anything. I like bad movies. I think that's going to be my role on this. I generally like terrible movies. And then Carrie, what do you want to say about yourself?
I was in West Side Story in high school. One of
You
the
was in
leads.
acting school, weren't you? Or something
I did.
like
I
that?
actually am 2 classes away from a theater minor at the University of Utah, but I chickened out. Didn't take the last 2 classes, so I have to settle for my 3 worthless degrees.
You could have had 4 worthless degrees.
I know. I could have had 4. I just have 3. None of
Yeah,
them are in
okay.
math, thankfully.
Well, and then Barrett.
Dang, that's
Barrett
kinda
here.
cool.
Yeah, he's got a degree in all types of stuff. Carrie
All
even
sorts
got a
of
Super
stuff.
Mario Bros. Shirt on tonight. That's new. I've
know.
not seen that one before.
Dude, I know.
Yeah, looking buff. And then,
Thank you.
okay, so I do love how Barrett has this beautiful background. We just have
know.
trash behind us.
Barrett's
I have a
background
beautiful
feels,
background. Are you kidding?
It feels
yours is
not
like
bad.
it's
I mean, it's got.
it's
this,
on point
you
for
know,
what we're
stuff.
talking about today. It feels dystopian, futuristic, dark.
Cinematic.
Yeah, thank you,
Cinematic.
Carrie. I appreciate that. I was thinking that at first. I was like, oh, is it too dark? But I was like, well, no, we're talking
No, it's
about Blade Runner.
perfect for
It's,
this movie. Yes.
Well, yeah, we are. But we'll talk about that in a second. First, we got to at least introduce
Sorry.
Barrett. Barrett, who are you?
I don't know. I'm Barrett. I'm bad
it's
at
just Barrett,
introducing
guys.
myself.
He can't introduce
There you
himself.
go.
That's actually his biggest weakness when he fills out a resume. Not good at introducing myself. That's in his introduction, actually. It's really weird. It comes
His
off
strengths
The
are
end.
self-deprecation,
Goodbye.
which is nice.
Yeah, that's good. No, so Barrett is a friend of mine from long time. For a long time. From a long time or for a long time? For a long time.
Where are
He's-
my tea and bread boo people at? Do you guys, any
Yeah,
of you
that's
guys
right.
ever
OG.
seen that?
We
should
Look it up
post
on
this-
YouTube.
We should post this on the T. We should post this on the T channel. Okay, Barrett.
should.
That's a good idea.
Because the
yeah.
funny thing is, Barrett has an old YouTube channel that he's been neglecting, like the child. He
Yeah,
loved,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
But every now and then he goes on there and he promotes something, and people are like, "You just put videos to promote stuff." And he's like,
It's
"Yeah,
like, at least
yeah."
this is is relevant to
Yeah.
the whole tea and bread booing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's tea
it's
and bread
it's a
booing.
good thought.
There's,
Good thought.
Dude, there's some OG fans on there. So yeah, I mean, me and Barrett go way back. Barrett worked with me at my day job. He still works at where I used to work for my day job. He recently, we're not gonna call him an Emmy Award winner, but he may
But
or
he
may
is.
not be an Emmy
He
Award
is.
winner.
He is. I can feel it. I can feel the prestige lofting up to me. It's
So
amazing.
since Barrett won't introduce himself, let me just tell you, Barrett has good taste in film. Barrett could be like the Ebert or Siskel. Which one's the better one, Barrett? I
Oh,
don't know.
great.
I think
Ebert.
there both dead, right? Is there a
Yeah,
good
Which one
is
was
that
better
how
when
you
they were
judge?
alive, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both cool.
Cool, yeah. So
Both cool.
Barrett likes
mean-
quality film, and maybe
Yeah.
sometimes. I mean, what's your favorite movie? The one we're reviewing. So let's talk about that.
I like
so
National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation.
That
Vegas
was great, 'cause it
Vacation.
was
You're a
PG-13.
90s lampoon guy. I love
it was. Here's the thing: it was PG-13, so it reached to all audiences, whereas the rest were R. They showed nip.
I feel
and
like
stuff.
Chevy
That
Chase
one was-
just wanted to gamble and they made a movie about it. That's what I feel like.
I went and saw him. Did I
That-
tell you,
yeah,
Barrett?
yeah, I
I
think
went and
you're
saw
right,
him,
actually.
and he was like,
Insufferable.
he's like 100 now.
Should
and
we
like, he
burn
just,
the
like,
Chevy Chase bridge just in
Oh,
case we
right,
ever
right. Yeah, I do
get
remember
there?
you mentioning that.
Yeah, no, they do this, I think, every Christmas. Look, actually, it's probably around now. He does like a tour where literally you just go and watch Christmas Vacation, and then he comes out and talks for 30 minutes. And he's like so ancient, he can't even like walk out on the stage. They push him in a
Aw.
wheelchair, but it's like, it's kind of depressing. Bring it down to a
Yeah.
depressing note right away.
Yeah.
I know.
All right. Anyway.
Okay, so what is this podcast? This podcast is a podcast that will help us write off our movie tickets, primarily. It's also to try to discuss film. We all love film. We're film enthusiasts. I think that's what you could call us. Me, Carrie, and Barrett all love movies. We love cinema and all that stuff, Hollywood movies, things like that. Not even necessarily just Hollywood, but just all movies. We like them all.
Everywhere.
And so we said, okay, let's do a podcast and let's tie it around what's very trendy right now: artificial intelligence, ChatGPT.
Dave is obsessed with AI right now.
I am.
This podcast will
noticed.
surely change in a year when something else is trending.
Right now,
NFT or whatever.
I have this goal to like. I want to try to. I've decided I want to stay on the cutting edge of AI too, and like I've been messing around with like AI animations and stuff, which is really fun. Like, Carrie, I made an animation of you sitting on a couch, like breathing really heavy with trash falling all around you. I can maybe put it in if I edit this.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
It's pretty cool.
We all need it.
The problem is I can't get it to make things more than 3 seconds. But anyways, we'll figure that out.
3 seconds is plenty of time.
That's plenty of time of you just like dying, not being able to breathe. Have you ever seen The Whale? You're basically you look about 400 pounds heavier in this picture.
The thing is, you told me with health anxiety not to go watch The Whale, so I didn't watch The Whale because you said don't.
Okay, so we'll talk about that too. We're going to talk about a lot of movies. We're going to have one primary film we discuss each week, and that film will be chosen at the end of each episode by ChatGPT. Now, obviously, since this is the first episode, I went and I recorded myself asking ChatGPT before I ever recorded this, and I'll put that in at the beginning of this. ChatGPT, weirdly enough, Barrett, as you noticed, chose a movie about AI. Blade Runner from 1982.
I mean, it's like if I had to guess like what movie it would pick, to glorify itself.
I feel like the computers were telling us something. I feel like they're saying this is what's going to happen, and we may or may not try to murder you. So watch this movie.
Right,
Maybe they were giving us a heads up.
There's murder in the film. I guess not. Spoiler alert. But yeah. I mean,
well, you haven't seen the movie yet. Spoiler alert.
It's 41 years old.
Yeah. You're a little late.
Yeah, come on. It's time.
So, weirdly enough, so it shows this movie, which is one of Barrett's favorite movies, as he'll admit. And now, Barrett, do you like this one better or the new one?
I prefer the old one,
Okay.
But the new one's awesome. Like I was surprised. Like I was expecting to not like it, probably like most fans of the original. But yeah, I liked it a lot.
What I would like, Barrett, if you can you give like a quick synopsis of the film? Because I'm coming at this from a completely different perspective where I have read/listened to the audiobook, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, 6 times in my life.
Oh, wow.
And so I have a ton of knowledge of the book, which if I give a synopsis, I'm going to accidentally put book stuff in there. So if you give a synopsis, like what is this film about?
Well, so it's like, don't put me on this pedestal or anything. You're like a better Blade Runner fan than I am, really. If you've, I've never read
totally
the book.
Different. No, it's totally different. Yeah. It's totally different. And that's why I want to hear the movie synopsis. And I can give you the book synopsis after.
Yeah. But I guess in a lot of ways, this movie is sort of like appeals to so many of my personal sort of tastes and sensibilities that it's one of those kind of movies that just like has like an individual thing about it, maybe that a lot of people kind of can lock into. There's something about the atmosphere of it that's just sort of like, I don't know, you just want it to be on in the background and that sort of thing. It's so less about the sort of the story.
So it's less
and the
about the
makings of
story.
It. Well, I mean that's just one aspect of it. Obviously, like I do love just kind of the subject matter and like the forward thinking nature of it. I guess I do like that. Right. Like I really appreciate when something can be talking about something that becomes relevant much later.
I love how
just
right
like
it
now,
was about stuff, but also wrong at the same time. Like the payphone video phone scene.
Right. Like you get this
right about
crazy.
The video, but wrong about the payphone. Like we'd have payphones sitting around.
Yeah. I think I heard a quote like from Ryan Gosling when he was talking about
the Mickey Mouse
2049. And how he was like, it's like a universe a far future universe, like if Apple didn't exist or whatever. It's like, it is sort of this clunky, ka-chunk, like everything.
Well, but there's some, okay, so I'll give the very quick synopsis.
I saw it for the first time yesterday.
Carrie, what's your synopsis of the film?
Here's the synopsis. As somebody who saw it yesterday for the first time, Space Cop tries to kill robot people who are impersonating regular people. And it's Harrison Ford, so he's moody about it.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
That's great. Yeah.
So that's a very good synopsis. Basically, Space Cop, but he's not in space. He's on Earth. Okay, first of all,
but Earth is in space.
Feels like space.
Earth is in space.
It feels like space because they have flying cars. So that's
Yes.
kind of what Barrett was alluding to, right? They have this stuff
2019,
where
by the way, we missed a lot of stuff.
they wrote the book in 19 or
It's
Philip
in
K. Dick.
L.A.
It's in L.A. Philip K. Dick wrote the book in 1974, right? And he got so much stuff right. This is what they're saying, guys. You have to understand, this is like 50 years ahead of its time, and he was freaking close. Like, weirdly close on a lot of this stuff. The only thing that's not come to fruition yet, and it might in 20 years, is the actual existence of AI robots. Literal robots dressed up and looking like humanoids that you cannot decipher by looking. And what you don't get, and you do get it a little bit, right? In the beginning of Blade Runner, the movie, you see him interviewing an android, right? And he's asking questions. It's called an empathy test. And the empathy test is basically like, do they show the right empathy, the human empathy that androids cannot show, right? Care for things, living things, stuff like that. And some of the questions on the empathy test, and I'm going to mix book and movie, but basically in the questions for the empathy test, it's testing you really like, will they care and show the physical reaction in their eyeball, the dilation of their eyeball? Will it react quickly enough so that you know they have that emotional response, right? Because androids can't replicate it. And so like one of the examples of one of the questions is, you see someone hands you a picture and it's a gift and it's got a naked woman on it and she's bending over and there's a reaction. Usually you're supposed to respond and the reaction will be like, oh, well, I'm not going to keep it, or, something like that. And, they have this reaction. All the androids react that way too, right? Like, oh, it's inappropriate, right? But then he slips in, she's lying on a bearskin rug and then like just skims past that. Well, the bearskin rug is supposed to be the thing that causes a big reaction to humans. Because in this future, and I don't even know, Barrett, if they explain this in the film. In this future, this is like a post-apocalyptic thing where basically vast majority of animals are dead. Okay? And a lot of humans died out too, and most of the humans have emigrated to Mars. And if you stay behind on Earth,
off-world that they keep talking about?
Yes, that's
these
Mars.
These are the people that are stuck on Earth. They don't want to be there, right?
Some stayed there because they want to be, but a lot of them are specials because of the radiation and stuff, and they're not eligible to emigrate. They don't allow.
Yeah, they glossed over all of that. They didn't even get into it.
And so, like, the big thing in the book is, do androids dream of electric sheep? Is animals. Owning an animal is akin to owning, like, a Maserati, right? The better your animal, the better of a person you are, because you're showing empathy towards the animal. They have like whole scenes where they go to animal dealers, kind of like a car dealer, and they're investing all this money. Oh, it's a $9.99 a month payment, but I can own a goat, right? And that's all my money, but I don't care because I'll own a real live goat.
That's why they were replicating like the snake, for example, in the movie, right?
Exactly.
The snake, exactly.
Like snake,
yeah. Right.
Yep. And they touch on that stuff, right? And if you have a real animal, like this is everyone who's a member of the religion Mercerism, which the whole book is really surrounded by this religion Mercerism, they will have empathy towards animals and a love towards animals. And the whole thing is all about animals, really. That's why it's called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Now, the main character, Bruce Willis, has an electric sheep because his real sheep died. And he didn't have the money.
Bruce Willis is in this? What?
Isn't that the main character, Bruce Willis?
Is that his name?
You mean Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford. That's Harrison
Bruce
Ford.
Willis.
I'm mixing up my OG guys. Harrison Ford. Okay, so thank you. He has an electric sheep because his real sheep died, couldn't afford another sheep, right? And he's hiding it. Him and his wife are hiding it. They don't want anyone to know they have an electric sheep. And his big dream is to get more sheep. Well, he is a bounty hunter, not a space cop, but kind of a space cop, a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
And as you saw in the movie, the main space cop gets shot by the guy during the interview, and then Harrison Ford has to take over the mission and catch the rest of these Nexus 6 androids, which are like the latest and greatest, hard to detect even with the testing system. That's why the guy got tricked and shot in the police office. Right, Barrett?
Yeah.
So basically, there's 6. And I think in the film, what is there, 4 that he has to kill and track down?
4. And then they found out about the one who didn't know she was a replicant or whatever later on, right?
So that's pretty true to the movie. Like, she does not know she's a replicant. He goes to, they call it the Tyrell Corporation, but it's called the Rosen Corporation in the book. And he goes there and he tests her, and she figures out she's an android she didn't know at the time, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so there's 6 Nexus robots that he has to get, and the whole book is about him like trying to do it. But he discovers during the book that he's actually feeling empathy towards robots, towards androids, and you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
and he feels like tainted and dirty
Right.
because he's got this, and they do a decent job of showing that in the movie. I feel they
Yeah.
show that he's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, for
struggling
sure.
with this like passion and love for the androids, and I think that's really cool that they got that apart. There's a lot of slow cinematography, which I know
Yes.
is Barrett's scene. And Carrie, you like that stuff too.
I was thinking about that at the start, guys. It opens up on a black screen with just the titles coming up, right? I'm like, you can't get away with that nowadays in the TikTok world. You got to be straight into the action.
yeah.
They had like 2.5 minutes of subtitles, and then like another 2 minutes to ease you into the world, which was refreshing. But I have to say, man, like it was hard for me because I'm not used to it. Even though I like that kind of cinematography usually, it was
Agreed.
off-puttingly slow for me. It took me a second. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa.
I mean, it's like I'm only able to watch like movies within I feel like a certain sliver of time. You know, there's a certain cutoff that's sort of like, oh man, it's just tough to grind through. Like, it's like I wanna go and watch all these like Buster Keaton films, but it's like I need the audio and like it just has it's like certain aspects of it. It sucks, you know.
Speaking of Buster Keaton, I felt like there was like a scene in this movie. Do you remember when he was going outside of the building to run away from the replicant guy, and he was like hanging on the thing? It was almost like the scene. I think that was a Buster Keaton film where he's on the clock tower or whatever. It felt very reminiscent to that era.
That's a good point. Those shots, even just the framing of them, kind of like the matte painting look too. Just
Similar
very
to Doc
noir,
Brown.
very noir. The whole vibe of that whole film. The long away. I don't know the technical terms, but like the far away shots of a guy in the shadows walking through an area. It felt very noir, very 1930s.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
there was a moment that I loved where they're in the Tyrell Corporation and he's like, it's too bright in here, and they like just turn off the lights in the room by like closing this giant window.
Yeah,
But they didn't close the window, they just like tinted it. That was a really cool technology.
Yeah,
I
it's
want
an
to
ND
see.
filter over the
it's
the
cool.
Is there
glass,
any daytime scenes in this movie? It's all
It's
at
very
night.
dark. It's very dark and moody, but that's the
no.
fog too. Like the Earth is covered in like fog. And
Right. Like
it's like post-apocalyptic.
There isn't
stuff.
day or whatever.
Yeah,
I think there was
no
one
real
cut
day.
of the movie that had it like fade into daylight. Maybe it was several of the original cuts. I kind of I'm only sort of familiar with the final cut, I guess. Which apparently is like Ridley Scott's, his sort of blessed cut, where the other one, he was like forced to do things that he didn't like at all, apparently, of having like happily ever after, Deckard and Rachel are just sort of like driving in a car off in the mountains. Apparently Ridley Scott like had to borrow footage from Stanley Kubrick from like The Shining, all that footage of like flying in the mountains and whatnot at the beginning of The Shining. He like borrowed footage from Stanley Kubrick to just put at the end of Blade Runner because producers
So
or
I
whoever
don't think I
were sort of
watched that
demanding.
version this week, Barrett.
Right, that's
Final
good.
Cut
That's
was
good.
the one,
You watched the correct version. That was
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, that didn't
there's
happen.
no daytime.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just sort of giving
I get you.
you.
So the one I mean, that's part of what ChatGPT, because it also gave us some things to talk about. Part of it, what it said, was the multiple versions, and I only could find that final cut where she just gets in the elevator with him and it's like over. He picks up like an origami thing, which I didn't understand. What was the significance of that thing? I didn't get that.
I guess it's one of those things that's like, I don't think it's ever explicitly been called out. I mean, it may have been, but I think it's basically just kind of a reference to. I think it's just a reference to like them being like a replicant. I can't remember exactly how that ties in though. Honestly, I'm trying to think of.
It sounded like, okay, so I'm just pulling straws here, but I thought I heard that guy. Remember, there's this like cop assistant guy who brings him to the police station all the time to talk with the head of police.
Right. He's the one who sort of like crafts.
Exactly.
He's the origami guy.
And when he picked it up, I thought they played his voice.
They did
when
play
he
his
picked it
voice.
up, and I thought it was saying something about like she can't survive, like he had to kill that last replicant.
No, the vibe I got was
it's
like
that
it's
she
worth
won't
spending time with her,
live.
even though it's going to be a very short amount of time.
Because she's only got
she has a
forever
short
anyway.
lifespan. Exactly. Yeah. I remember now. It's the origami is the unicorn that you see in the dream. And so the dream basically was like a reference to memories that have been kind of implanted.
And they talked a lot. They talked a lot about. I felt like there was a lot of talk in this movie about like what makes somebody human, what makes these androids human-like, and one of the big things was memories. Yeah. They implanted memories so that she would think that she was human, right? And she had all these memories from the past,
right?
And they talked about memories. They talked about fear, survive. There was all these things. Like these guys, these replicants, desperately wanted to survive. Right? They wanted to live longer, much like human beings do.
To be human, essentially. Yeah.
And that's what it is to be human, to be coherent, that you even want to survive. Because animals, right? At least we've been told, right? They don't really always understand that they're going to die at any point. They're just, if they're in the moment of trying to survive being attacked, they understand, I guess. But they don't really have a comprehension of life and death in that sense that we do as humans.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the 4-year lifespan, and it's interesting because, like, in the movie, they focus on, the androids are trying to figure out how long they have left in a lot of it. They don't really focus on that in the book, really. You honestly don't get as much of I don't feel like you get as much of an insight into the android's thoughts, the ones he's chasing down. You do with Rachel Rosen or Tyrell, whatever it is. You do get to kind of see her struggling as she realizes she's not real.
Right.
I think the best thing that they left out, and I don't know if they put it in the newer one, Barrett, you'll have to tell me because I haven't seen that since it came out and I don't remember any of it. But there's this moment where he's chasing Luba Lutz, and Luba Lutz, I don't know what she was called in the movie, but she's the girl who you see naked, who's like the model, the actress or whatever, right? She's at the club and he goes and questions her.
Right.
Yeah. And so he's chasing, so there's this part where he goes to her and he does the test. They always do the eye test to check for empathy. And she's like getting very angry about the questions and so on and so forth. And she's like, these questions are all perverse. You're a pervert. I'm calling the police. And she calls the cops. He's like, I don't care. Call them. I work for them. And, the squad car comes down and the squad says, oh, I've never heard of you. There's only 2 Blade Runners or bounty hunters in our whole entire city of California or San Diego, wherever it is, and you're not one of them. And he's like, yes, I am. He's like, well, then call up the police station. So he calls the station and like no one answers, right? And he's like, well, that's not the right number. The cop says that's not the right number. He dials a different number, and when he dials a different number, it takes him to a different head of police who's never heard of him, who's never heard of Harrison Ford. He's like, I don't know this bounty hunter. Who is this? And Harrison Ford starts to think he's like losing it. Right. And they start saying, hey, maybe you're AI. And they take him all the way down to this station that is not the station he works at. It's like a fake station that looks like a real station. And he starts to like question his sanity at this point because he goes in there and like there's cops, there's all these other people that are in a fake police station. You don't know it's fake at the time when you're reading the book, but it literally is fake. Yeah. They're all pretty much AI pretending like it's another police station and they're trying to trick him. It's such a great moment because he's like, am I the robot?
Yeah.
And there's this bounty hunter they bring in, and everyone at this station, even the chief of police, is a android. And so the bounty hunter, he comes in and he's like, okay, so this, it's hard to like sum up a whole book, and I'm not going to try to, but basically Harrison Ford, Luba Lutz calls the cops. And when the cops come, he says, I am a bounty hunter. I've already killed one android Nexus 6 model today. He's in my trunk. And the cop's like, oh, so you have a dead body in your trunk. Well, we're going to be taking you downtown then if you've killed someone. And so like they take him downtown because he's murdered someone, right? And they're really like screwing with his mind. And they do this test. There's this after death test that they can do to check for sure if it's an android. Forget about like the while they're alive test. Once they're dead, they check their bone marrow, and that tells you for sure if they were an android or not. And so like, well, we're going to test that guy and see if he's an android. Well, anyways, the chief of police says, let's test him. He's a robot, remember? And he doesn't think the guy that got killed is a robot. He doesn't know him. He's never heard of him. So he's like, yeah, we're going to test him. He's not going to be a robot. Now, they know the whole time that this is a real bounty hunter and he's a human, but they're just trying to get away with this and pretend like they're not, like they're real. Like, it's just so crazy. The whole moment is so crazy. Yeah. And like, it gets to this point though, which is this the interesting point I'm getting to, where the bounty hunter that works at that station, once he realizes everyone else is there's AI, he's like, oh my gosh, am I AI? Like, am I a robot? Are all my memories implanted? I have a pet. Robots don't have pets. How do I have a pet? I have a squirrel and I take care of it. And he's like, have you ever heard of a robot having a pet? And Harrison Ford guy is like, no, it's rare, but there's an occasional time. And like, they get to the point where they have to test each other because they don't know who's a robot.
Right.
And that's like, I feel like there was so much opportunity in the movie to do something fun like that.
What's hilarious is cool. That was a really cool place they could have went. And I recall there was a moment in the movie where I don't know who asked Harrison Ford's character if he had ever taken the test.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, there's going to start to be this question of whether he's a robot too, right? And I swear that's all
there is in the book.
Yeah, that's all they discussed. They never went into detail about that. Maybe they just put that in there to make you wonder if he was or wasn't, created.
Yeah, I think so. I guess from what I could gauge, they must have just felt like to keep pacing of the film and to just keep it within scope. Like you gotta cut somewhere.
Book adaptations are insane. They've got to be so tough to do. You have to about so many important parts. And
dude, it's tough. It's so crazy. They left Mercerism out, and they left, what is the box that's called? The empathy box or whatever. I can't remember what it's called, but basically like there's this shared euphoria thing. It's like a drug almost, where everyone hooks into this thing and they share their emotions and feelings. Like it's a lot like an internet before the internet existed.
This almost feels
crazy.
Feels like it would have been a great modern series for like a Netflix or something.
It still could be. It still could be. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I'd love to watch that.
I think if they were to just directly do the property like that, isn't there something like on Netflix? There's like a series.
I don't know about this.
Not Blade Runner, but like it was.
There's Westworld is kind of similar. Westworld.
I guess I guess like what my point was is there's just a lot of stuff that sort of draws from kind of a lot of
there's a lot of stuff. It was interesting watching this for the first time yesterday, realizing all of the modern movies I have seen that have taken from this.
Mm-hmm.
Like this whole like I had seen all this stuff before. Shinier and newer movies, like these same basic ideas of the future and the flying cars and the giant billboards and the fact that Coca-Cola and I guess TDK, which I think
just the
did
way
VHS
the ads
cassettes
are just
was still around, I guess, in the future.
yeah, exactly. I love how they kept like Atari in like the 2049
Pan Am.
version.
Did you see the giant Pan Am?
Yeah, that's true. They did have
Pan Am.
Pan Am.
Pan Am. Yeah.
It's like crazy. Yeah.
No.
I do love that like maintaining the alternate universe though. Like I felt like they did a great job with 2049 at least, that kind of continuing on that universe.
I need to rewatch it. I need to watch the newer one again because that's the one that like I'd love to see what they. So you're saying in 2049 they still had Pan Am or they didn't?
I believe they
really?
do. Yeah,
okay.
Like they at least had the giant Atari. Like I remember that was like in the trailer. It was huge, like building size, like Atari logo.
I do want to talk a little bit about the Simmons character. I feel like he's the what a lot of people think the future could be with AI. Like he was creating really creepy, weird friends. I imagine, since he was a lonely guy who is creating partners, to which to be conjugal with or whatever. So but that's a lot of what people think in the future. You're going to become more lonely and separate from real people and start connecting to these creations, I guess, that you buy or create yourself. I don't know.
He's a chicken head. Okay. A chicken head is someone who's infected or mess up because of the radiation.
Yeah, Benjamin Button disease. I do remember that.
So he's not allowed to emigrate, and in the book, he's like a very dumb character, and he knows they're robots, but like the fact that they're talking to him and giving him attention makes him want to please them, and basically like he's obsessed and in love with them because they're finally other people, community, talking to him. And I don't really recall him having these little weird creature thingies that he created. But I did like them. Were they robots or were they people? It looked. I mean, it was literally like a dwarf in a costume.
One of them looked. Isn't that the whole point though? Like he makes.
They're robots, right?
He works with. He literally works with the owner of the whole company, so he probably makes these super realistic. These robots, these replicants.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Right.
Which he doesn't. Which he doesn't. Like that was. I mean, he does in the movie. I'm gonna be annoying in this book because the book is like so close to my heart. I'm sorry, but like
I think that makes it interesting though. I mean, because I've like I said, I've never read the book,
so you would love it.
And I'm a huge fan of the movie. So
and the audiobook's great because it's Scott Brick who does a good job on every book he reads. But no, in the movie, he works for an electric animal repair shop, which again they removed all electric animals from this thing, so obviously they couldn't have him do that job. Really. And like there's a moment where he goes to try to save an electric cat and to like repair it, and he gives it like electricity, voltages it, right? But remember, he's like kind of dumb, and it dies. He brings it back to the shop, and it's a real cat that he killed by accident because he thought it was an android. He couldn't tell, and he actually killed someone's cat because he's so dumb. and he couldn't tell it was
Yikes.
fake. And so like those are like the kind of moments you do lose out on by like removing the animals. And it just it gives so much motivation, like, because the reason the Harrison Ford character wants to keep going and killing all these robots because you get $1,000 per robot, and he can finally buy a real animal to replace his stupid electric sheep, which he hates and he feels terrible about.
It's funny how they replaced that in the movie, though, because the only impetus for him to do this was just because he had to. They kept saying that you got to do it. No, I know, but like they took away the motivation in the film, other than just like somehow they had him where he had to do it, I guess, or he went to jail.
Yeah, that's
or
true. I didn't think about
something.
that. Yeah. So that's what you took. You watched it and you thought he was like under threat. If
yeah, that's what it felt like. It felt like
Yeah.
it's like he's like, I don't want to do it. And they're
Yeah, I
like,
would
you
agree.
kind of have to. And he's like, okay. That was that simple.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It seemed like, come on, like we can make you do this.
That's the
basically,
vibe
is
I
kinda
got,
what
yeah.
And that's not
they
it at
implied,
all.
yeah.
Like there's other bounty hunters.
Yeah.
He's the best bounty hunter, but there was other bounty hunters that could have done it if he didn't. Right. And so really, it was
yeah, like in
financially
the
motivated.
film, it was like the other ones like couldn't cut it because like
Yeah.
the other guy tried. Like
Yeah.
at the first scene,
That's
at
true.
the first scene, he the other guy is trying to get at these guys and he gets blasted.
That other
and
guy
so
that got
he references.
that other guy that got blasted is his superior, and he's an underling to that guy. That guy is supposed to be the best one, and the fact that
Okay,
he got shot,
interesting.
they didn't
Yeah.
think that the Harrison Ford character could pull it off because he was a lesser bounty hunter.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
so
interesting.
and there's only
they reverse that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just really interesting. So he gets $3,000. He kills 3 of the robots, gets 3,000, goes and leases a goat immediately, a male goat, or I think it's a female goat. And he's so excited, he brings it home, and his wife, who's just always depressed and always on the empathy box, trying to get like highs because she's got depression because of their electric sheep, she comes up and she's so excited. Oh my gosh, you got it! And he admits to her, and this is such a good moment. I don't know how they could have replicated it. He admits to her that, like, yes, he bought it for her, but he really bought it because he had to do something because he was so upset at himself because he took the test, the empathy test, and he felt empathy towards androids. And he felt so dirty and evil for feeling empathy towards androids. He needed like a high, a shopping high, to go buy an animal to make him feel more human and connected with Mercer, which is like the head of the church, right? The church that they go into the empathy box and talk to is this Mercer guy. And like the whole thing is just motivated by the money, and then this is a spoiler for the book, but Rachel Rosen, or Tyrell, ends up, as you saw, sleeping with him, right? In the movie, they imply they made love, right? That's what I got out of it.
Whoopi, yes.
And then it also in the movie implied they lived happily ever after, right? In the book, and this might blow your mind. I feel like it's Dave's story time, but this might blow your mind. In the book, it turns out right after they sleep together, she tells him, I'm actually a robot. I knew I was a robot, basically, and my job is to sleep with bounty hunters to convince them not to kill our robots. Because once they've slept with me, they won't be willing, because they're in love with me, they won't be willing to kill the androids.
Yeah.
How's that for a mind
clever.
blow?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
It's clever. Because I feel
I
like...
love...
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Derek,
like
sorry.
all these. No, it's fine. All these different kind of avenues that it can go down. I can understand why there were so many different cuts of it. You know, when you've got all these ideas, it's like, well, gosh, like that would be really solid too. You know,
That would have been. They could do Blade Runner B, C, and D, and they'd be all good movies.
Isn't that
I'd watch them
kind of
all,
like the fatal flaw for actual humans versus these robots? If we're like kind of fighting against each other, is the fact that we have empathy and they can just pretend to have empathy.
Yes,
they
that's
can
exactly
use
what
the
the book
fact,
is about.
Yeah, they can use the fact that there's no way, just based on how we've grown throughout time, to not have empathy even for a robot if it displays what we would be empathetic about.
right?
You know,
right. How
whatever.
much can it be faked? Like, it's such an interesting question.
And if they ultimately do not care, and they can replicate all of our emotions, then they would have big advantage over us to be able to do something
That's
like
scary,
that,
dude.
right?
That's scary. That's scary in our AI world, isn't it?
I know, right? AI
right?
Pics,
I mean,
it's
that's
gonna
why
lead
it's
us
such
to
a
the
relevant, such a relevant, thing to be talking about now. I mean, it is
50 years later,
pretty
and
incredible.
he called it. I mean,
Dude,
what's
I know,
crazy
that's
is
wild,
like
man.
in the book, at the end, because she said no one basically has ever gone on to kill robots after I slept with them and made them fall in love with me because they feel empathy towards me, right? They know they can do this to stop their robots from getting killed. And so, but he's like, forget it. Like he's just going to do it anyways. And the reason he does it anyways, because he has a vision from Mercer, and Mercer, the like Lord of the Church or whatever, basically says, yeah, I know it's wrong. Because he says it's wrong. I can't do it. I can't kill them because they feel human to me. And Mercer says, I know it feels wrong, but sometimes we have to do what's wrong to do right. And that was like really interesting, and that's what motivates him to go do it.
Was he able to do it because he was actually a replicant to begin with? So
not in the book.
Not in the book? Okay.
Not in the book, no. He's not a replicant in the book. He is a humanoid in the book. And what's crazy, and this, Carrie, is touching exactly on what you said, is after he goes and kills those 3 other robots, friggin' Rachel Rosen, Tyrell, goes over to his roof, pushes his goat off the freaking roof and kills it. Because she has no empathy.
Yeah.
She's a freaking robot.
Yeah.
She could care less about the stupid animal. But it destroys him and his wife to the point where he like runs away into the desert and is basically going to kill himself until he has a vision from Mercer and finds an electric toad that he thinks is a real toad. Toad is the most rare and most treasured animal by Mercerism. He finds this thing. He thinks he just found an actual extinct toad, a living one. Holy crap. He's like, this is worth millions and millions of dollars. I'm going to bring it home and show it to my wife. He gets it home to his wife and she's like, there's a control panel under here, honey. And he's like, oh. And he's like, I'm going to bed. And that's like the end. It's so freaking good. It's
wow. Yeah.
It's, listen, I watched the movie and I think the movie's great. But I love this book so much. It's really hard for me to say it's better than the book. Like, I think the book is a better experience, but the movie is fantastic. I just think I want the 4-hour cut of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, definitely wouldn't disagree. I think 2049 is like an hour longer than
I need to rewatch that one.
Than Blade Runner 19.
I think that was the major thing for me. Like, I didn't love the movie, and I kind of really wanted to love the movie. I loved the aesthetic, the vibe, the noir vibe, the music that was kind of otherworldly, atonal, like off-putting and stuff. It was very like, it's the 80s, guys, and we're in the future, the synth, kind of Dune-ish a little bit.
Dude, was that android Billy Idol? The blonde one? Was that Billy Idol?
Yeah, it might have been.
It looked just like him.
Yeah.
Rutger.
Dude, there was so many moments in the movie I was like, this is deep, and I understand it's deep, I just can't connect to it. Like, obviously the nail in the hand was very religious, but all of it
the dove that he pulled out of his butthole. I don't know where that thing came from. I feel like a
lot of what I didn't connect to in the movie just would have worked if I just had a little bit more time, like a little bit more of this knowledge about the backstory and stuff that they just
that's what I think makes it work so well for me. It's because I know all the stuff that's not being said, and that's why like when I rewatched, I'm like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I think that I just enjoy the feeling of being lost in it, and so in like many ways, I enjoy the things that get stripped away that I get to try and imagine like where that came from. Because I guess in so many ways, it's like that feels like a rich world. If you're dropped into a world that like, oh well, this animal market, we're just going to go over here to investigate a thing and not deal with like why that's there.
Why is there an animal market?
It doesn't matter to us at the time. We're just doing what we're doing. I just kind of I like that feeling when there's these like really thick layers, because you can still sense it. Like, if it weren't so well like written out, to begin with, I wouldn't have that sense of like, wow, there really is something behind that. But like, when you get that sense, like I love that feeling of just like, it's there, that there's something really dense and interesting there, and let's move past it and go on to something else. It's just kind of, it just makes the world just feel so rich to me.
There's
I really love that
really
aspect
interesting about them not spoon feeding everything to you. In modern movies, they have to just tell you everything about why is there porgs in Star Wars or whatever. Like, everything has to be explained. And here it just like you're just in it. Almost like, I don't know, almost like you're a replicant yourself, stuck in there for the first time, coming from the off world, and like you're just there and you don't know what the heck's going on, and you understand.
I mean, it is like a mood piece, in a lot of ways. It's almost like one of those like meditative YouTube videos of like walking the streets of wherever. It's just kind of like, it's like,
to
if
me,
you're there just for like a narrative, you know,
Yeah.
from A to B, like you're probably going to be disappointed if you're just hooked on like, I want to see the plot progress and I want, you know, good pacing and whatnot. It's like, you know, maybe not for you, but yeah.
it is. It's like it's almost like it's a slice of life film extracted from the book.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like this is a tiny moment in this character's life, but there's a lot more you don't know about. And that is, I think, what you're, yeah. And I think the animal market's a great example because to me that's so meaningful. But if you didn't know, then it's just like, what is happening? Like I never even thought about it from that perspective.
It's so cool.
Like,
It just makes that layering just so good, and like and you can tell that the world like relied on that piece of you know of economy. And just environment and was like, this is okay, clearly a staple of it, so we're gonna, you know, it's there and like I think that he's going down the hallway when he's like at that club and you're seeing all the animals just being like carted by and you're just like, what in the world is all that? It's just like it fills it again, you know, with all this richness that it doesn't talk about at all, but you're just kind of like, whoa, thrown into this.
But how much does it change your perspective knowing that that's like a cart full of Lambos going?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it definitely like kind of fills it in. I guess I just enjoyed that process of sort of peeling the onion maybe and like
well, I hope I didn't spoil
it makes
by
it
giving you
like
this
that.
backstory.
I guess that's why I like continuing to like watch the movie, because it, you know, obviously it tries to obfuscate those things heavily, and so if you look closely at it, you do see kind of more things just from just the scenery and whatnot, because I guess that's like definitely a Ridley Scott thing, is to just kind of really work on the environments. And
it is really interesting. It's kind of like an anti, like the modern day movies, and I guess you can't really compare it when it was made because they didn't know what modern day movies were going to be like, but the modern day movie spoon feeds you everything, builds a world, but kind of explains everything within the world. It's kind of refreshing in a way to see all the time and money and forethought in building this world, but then not really spoon feeding it to you, not explaining everything from it. It's just letting you kind of just fill in the gaps. The pacing is really slow, but the world, you could tell a lot was going on in that world. You know, there's the animal market, there's the club, there's a lot of stuff going on that's pretty wild, and you just kind of have to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. I mean, it's like, you know, in games, I don't like it when you can like just hit the invisible wall. Like I would rather there be some sort of way to, you know, bring me around from, you know, don't let me see that edge of where you've built content. Like and yeah, when you're thrown into something that has that such density like that, like you don't ever see the edge of like, you know, where, like things just continue on into the distance. Like that first shot, I mean, it's almost like a visual metaphor for that. I mean, that so many layers of stuff into infinity, you know, the flames just going on, and it just makes you like, you're sort of bewildered with like this
world you've just been dropped
like,
into.
Wow, yeah.
It's like, where am I?
Right. And that, like the sound and everything, I feel like, you know, at least for me, definitely just like sucks me into that kind of universe.
Yeah. I think that it's an eerie kind of world, but it's a world you want to know more about, and it's just
intriguing. It's like I definitely don't want to live there, but it's almost, it's like, it's so funny how appealing so many aspects of it are. You know, it's like, I think it was a long time ago I tried that like Blade Runner apartment in VR thing. You know, it sort of simulates his like little balcony. It's just such a cool,
that's cool.
kind of like kind of idea. You know, it's like. But yeah, it's like definitely not a place you wanna live. Yeah.
I noticed her hair is horrible. I just want to talk fashion. Do we have a fashion section on the show? Her hair was just awful. And the thing that did, you know, bother me, little things that bother me, was when he goes, like, the crap has been kicked out of him, and he goes to like lay down on the couch. He's like bleeding everywhere, and he like just falls asleep, and she just starts playing the piano. I'd just be like, yo, shut up. I'm trying to sleep. What are you doing there?
That was her, once again, trying to probably connect with you. And his humanity, she's trying to manipulate him, right? Using the music.
Was she trying to manipulate him in the movie?
That
they
is
didn't
true.
imply that she was. It's a different story, really. Like they didn't imply
No,
that
they didn't.
she
In the
was,
movie, they didn't. Yeah.
you know, had bad motives at all. And so that was just her. To me, that was her connecting with her memories of her mom teaching her piano or whatever that she was talking about back in the day. And that was her like, these have got to be real memories. Like she was so upset and confused by these real memories. And that's like, I mean, dude, do we really get to that point where we put real memories in robots? Are we gonna do that crap? Are we that dumb?
Here's
like
the
really,
thing, memories,
as humanity?
Memories oftentimes mold who we are
maybe
from day-to-day life. The things that we think about, the way we perceive ourselves throughout time kind of, you know, sometimes isn't even our real self, if that makes sense. Like I'm the guy, you know me, Dave, like I'm the guy who always sleeps in, who in the past, you know, got fired from, you know, in and
every
out
job.
and different, every job, right? But that's not necessarily who I am. That's who I was at a time, and then my memories are exaggerated, possibly. And then I become that when maybe that isn't who I really am. You know, memories are kind of
so do you think if you had
falsified
different
versions
memories
of ourselves oftentimes.
Do you think if someone were to implant completely different memories, you would be a completely different person?
Why wouldn't I be? Right? Memories really do
it seems
guide
like
who
we all
you
would be.
are. You know what I mean?
Interesting, yeah. So like if you just all of a sudden had the memory that you're an early bird, would you then become an early bird?
I that would be an interesting question though, because if I have the memory of that
balance,
being
maybe.
who I am, would I not then have the motivation to be that way? Right? I don't know. That's an interesting question. And if these memories are implanted and they're real to this person who can think, right? Even though it's a replicant, real to this replicant, then are the memories then not real? Right? Because isn't that what it's
their
kind of
desire
asking?
to stay alive? I mean, that is.
Yeah,
I mean, that is the one thing we haven't touched on. Like, literally, this is like this whole movie. Can you make you question what is humanity? What is a person?
Right.
Who is real and who is not? Like, I think that whole thing. I mean, it's just so ahead of its time, and so much of like the current writing in Hollywood is just so lazy.
It is.
Comparatively, there's nothing deep coming out of Hollywood. I mean, there's some fun stuff, and maybe there's some deep stuff, but I don't know, man. It's crazy that.
Yeah, it's definitely a totally different feel, though. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like nothing spoon fed. It's meant to like. You're meant to get to the end of it and sort of just it lingers for maybe a long time, rather than
what it was
like,
shot
all right,
on?
that was good. What do you
know
mean,
what kind of camera? Like what kind of camera was it? It's film camera, right? But is there like
I mean,
like I don't know. It's
I don't know. Honestly, I mean that probably an
visually it still looks very
something.
Good. Visually, it still looks very good.
I mean, it's like you use film and that you get like that
timeless.
benefit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What are some of the other movies that Ridley Scott did? He did like Black Hawk Down. He did Alien, right?
Alien, yeah.
Yeah, Gladiator.
Gladiator. I was just trying to think offhand what he had done.
We could also ask Chat GPT that.
Yeah,
that's true.
Seems appropriate.
Yeah, it'll get like 80% of them right.
ChatGPT is like the secret member of our band here. Alien, Blade Runner, Gladiator, Thelma and Louise,
Prometheus.
The Martian.
There we go.
I liked The Martian, Black Hawk Down, Prometheus.
Prometheus,
Prometheus is Alien.
To
Alien, it's a sequel. Yeah. Was it a prequel or sequel?
I
thought it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, I guess prequel. Yeah, you're right.
It says right here, prequel to Alien.
Prequel, yeah.
So he went from 1982 to 1991 without doing a movie, and his next movie was Thelma and Louise. That's way different from Blade Runner.
Poor life choices.
Yeah, and I mean that's just a sliver of them, I guess.
That's it's probably not all of them. That's like it says here are some of his notable films, Carrie. He probably did several art house. Whose phone is beeping?
Sorry, it's mine. It's on my computer. I don't know how to turn it off.
That's fine.
Clicks on my computer. Sorry,
guys. Carrie's not very technologically.
I'm doing
savvy.
my best. I'm doing my best, guys.
Yeah, he only has 3 degrees. So if he had gotten that 4th degree in film,
none of them in anything important. So.
It's a set. It's like 75% there. You need to, 100%.
Exactly.
All 4.
So, okay, so we jumped into the film. So the way I really would like to kind of model this podcast would be like a little updates about our lives in the beginning, and then talk about kind of other stuff we've been watching. Maybe if we went to the movies or been watching some series on TV or whatever, and then go into the big film that we're all waiting for, right? That's how I'd like to do it. We kind of went backwards, but I feel like we've really kind of unwrapped Blade Runner to the best of our ability. I mean, do we want to be the people who rate movies? I don't think we do, right? We don't want to give a rating to movies.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think we should.
I can't rate this movie.
How would you?
4 tomatoes out of 10. Let's just right. Whatever. It doesn't matter. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's all good.
It's between 1 and 10 tomatoes.
One
It's
in
got some number of
12
tomatoes.
yeah.
You could make ketchup with it. I don't know how
Yes.
much, but you can make
Yeah.
some ketchup.
An appropriate amount.
So basically, I wanted to hold on. Let me just see. Okay, so back to where we were. So, anyways, yeah, I would like to in the future, and we're also going to pick the next movie on this podcast. We're going to pick what we're going to talk about next week. The goal is to do a weekly podcast if we can work out the timing. Barrett has a new baby. How old is your baby now?
9.5 months.
Okay, so he's got that in his life. So he's
that.
he's like a busy lad, of course, and he travels a lot for his day job and things like that. Although your travel's probably dying down for a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
it's dying down a fair amount. So yeah,
That's
and I hope to be able to make it a weekly thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the goal is weekly, and we're hoping we have some listeners. If not, though, we can just hang out and have fun. So that's okay.
Do we want to talk about some of the movies that we've watched?
Yeah, let's talk about some of the stuff. Have you been watching anything, Carrie?
Dude, I watched one of my favorite movies last night for Halloween.
Okay.
It's the uplifting tale of The Purge.
Oh, which one?
I love the first one.
The first one's like the only good one.
Yeah, I love
Wait, you just said you love you some perv. I just want to clarify that.
Yes, just leave it. Don't edit it. Don't edit it. That Purge also. I love me some Purge. Something about that silly premise is very both interesting and terrifying. Like, how would you react? What would you be out there purging?
Would you purge?
Would you be
Would you?
No, I would be. The first thought we all talked about as a family is wouldn't we just fly out of the country if it's a USA only thing? Wouldn't you if you had the money, wouldn't you just leave? And another thing is,
I'm trying to piece it together. I'm trying to remember what the premise is. It's actually kind of fun to try and guess from what you're saying.
One day a year you are allowed to murder. All crime is legal.
Oh, that's right.
One
That's
day
right.
a year.
Okay, yeah.
So the purge, half the people lock down their homes. The poor people can't afford to lock down their homes, so they get killed. Basically, it turns into like a class thing. Like classist, like purging the people who can't afford to protect themselves is what it turns into, like by movie 7.
Yeah, it definitely goes into that. The first movie is basically
it's not like that in the first movie.
It's about the dude who likes poetry, trying to protect his family.
And
it's messed up.
It just makes it more and more on the nose.
Yeah,
it shoves its message down your throat further.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
It is very. Like it's very.
The first one's the best. The first one's the best for that reason. Like, it doesn't get too deep into like making you question.
And I feel
everything.
like the cinematography in that, although it's not really known for cinematography, I think that's the reason why the first Purge is so amazing. It's the one scene with like the Ring doorbell thing where the guy has the weird long face and then he takes off his mask and he looks the same without his mask, which is weird. And then
he just happens to be clown face.
And now that it's like 10 years later, he looks oddly like Austin Butler from Elvis. We had to look that up. It's a dude who basically has done nothing since that of note, other than just, no big movies.
Killed some people in the Purge.
Just killed some people in the Purge. I mean, that's a good enough. I think that's good enough. You could pretty much retire.
That's pretty cool. Like, I would do that and then quit. And that's a cool anecdote.
So the Purge is a classic. My Halloween go-to is Trick or Treat. That's at least as of late. Have you seen that one? It's almost like an anthology of multiple little horror films. Where there's this like little dude that goes around murking people. He's got like a jack-o'-lantern head, and
I feel like the image is
love that.
I just have the same story every time you mention that. I've never seen it, and my second cousin wrote that, Michael Dowtry.
I love your second cousin.
Yeah, he did
it's
that.
Like one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, but I've never seen it. I need to watch it though. I've heard good things about it.
You definitely need to see it. Do you have like a Halloween movie, Barrett?
Yeah, The Shining. I feel like I think
classic,
I brought it up before. I can't help but watch The Shining. It's one of those ones that definitely I feel like I can leave on loop all the time and whatnot. It's just
the acting is good in that too. It's just
it's a good one to keep your spirits up, so you're just always positive.
Very uplifting.
I'm not.
Well, now that you have
going
kids
crazy.
Too,
right,
now that you have kids too, you can really connect. Or you have a kid, you can really connect. Okay, so that's. I mean, but I watch more TV than normal. I went and saw FNAF: Five Nights at Freddy's because the kids wanted to see it. That thing is gonna be so big. That's gonna be like.
I heard it's going nuts.
Well, I said it. Me and my son and daughter were on their way to the movies, and I'm like, dude, I don't think anyone understands how huge this movie's gonna be. Like every kid grew up with Five Nights at Freddy's. They grew up with it.
I mean, it's like Minecraft and then Five Nights at Freddy's. Like that was just right there, right?
This will be their Christmas vacation every single Halloween. Like they're going to watch this every single year for the rest of their
are they
lives.
just going to do the Saw thing and just make a new one every year?
Oh, they'll make a new one because there's so much lore. There's 7 games. And there's so much lore around the Five Nights at Freddy's thing. Like, there's a lot of unanswered questions, things like that. And I absolutely love who portrays the bad guy. And I don't want to spoil it, but I'll say he portrays a bad guy in a series of slashers from the 90s, and he's a very good bad guy. And
that's smart to have for them to have done that.
I love that they did that casting choice because he's great.
I don't have little kids, but do they have any kind of connection with, like, the source of this stuff is like the 80s, 90s, animatronics that were like at a Chuck E. Cheese, right? Do they even understand that lore or is it just funny characters in a weird pizzeria?
I think they understand the lore because of the game. I think the game gives them enough context that they get it. Also, my kids went to Chuck E. Cheese. It's not that. It's still around.
Oh, I don't know.
It's still around. And then there's the country bears at Disney. Like, animatronic animals are not that far gone. Hey, imagine if they put them into Blade Runner and they gave them AI brains. There you go. Bringing it back around.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Full circle.
No, honestly, okay, so I'm going to make, like, a little case for Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a fun film. And even if you don't have kids, it's really not a kid movie. Like, so you totally could go see it. Like, these things are, like, haunted by ghosts of children. That's not really a spoiler. That's well known. Like, these animatronics are, like, possessed by children and, evil and killing people. Like, it's an interest. If you like horror, slasher, or anything like that, you're probably going to like the Five Nights at Freddy's. It's got some weak scenes, but overall, I thought it was really good. I like that kid from Zathura. I can't remember his name. He's the main character in it. Remember the older kid from the movie Zathura? Have you seen that movie? Mm-hmm.
Gosh,
what else is he in?
I remember Zathura.
Are we talking? Is it the Josh Hutcherson guy?
Yes.
Yeah,
Josh
he's
Hutcherson.
in Hunger Games, right?
Hunger Games, yes.
Yeah.
Peeta Mellark in Hunger Games. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So he's. I really like him, honestly, and he's aging in, he's becoming better at acting. So I really thought he did a good job in it as well. And he like lost a brother. Like the backstory is his brother got kidnapped on his watch. And like he's still trying to like struggle through that like emotional damage that created.
Yeah, that's a heavy.
It's heavy, dude. It's heavy. That's what I'm saying. So
that's cool.
It's not a cinematic masterpiece, but it was
I mean, it's called Five Nights at Freddy's. It's based on a horror concept based off of a showbiz pizza, right?
Yeah,
It's like it's like Pirates of the Caribbean was based off of a Disney ride, and it's pretty amazing what can kind of happen when you've got people who care about it, I guess, really.
Could you imagine that guy? Because that original indie video game came out, like a decade ago? I mean, could you imagine? Because it's such an interesting thing. Because
he's so rich now.
Me and Dave know about Five Nights at Freddy a lot from our other stuff. We resell stuff, and like those plushes, stuffed animals are very popular.
They do crazy.
Toys are very popular.
You have like a really good
and it was
pulse
created
on
from a video
sort of
game
thing,
that I don't know how many people actually play the video game. Is it very popular, like Minecraft?
Oh my gosh,
or
it's
is it
insanely. Yeah, it's just like Minecraft.
Yeah, huge.
It's just like, so here's a plushie, Barrett. This plushie sells for like $80. It's an $80 Five Nights at Freddy plush. Like that stuff. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's. And I think that's maybe why I had insight into how successful this would be. Like when all the news reports were coming out at $80 million, I'm like, yeah, makes sense. No surprise at all to me.
It's just
Every
totally
single kid wanted to see
to
this
expectations.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And so like, I just think Universal was genius for picking up the IP. So smart of them. They've been making a lot of good choices lately with IP pickups and stuff. Like Blumhouse in general, man, they spend nothing. And everything they produce makes buku bucks.
Yeah, that's... Yeah,
like the black
horror movie.
Phone, like,
so you guys, what you're saying is, you guys would be kind of amazing executives at giant, studios, right? Because you kind of have this pulse.
Yes, we would.
On like what's going on. It's like,
what is that?
Hey, mergers and acquisitions.
Are you referencing Big, the movie where Tom Hanks has a kid, like he's a kid who's grown up and he's like the best ever toy executive because he knows what kids want.
That's a very good point. Very good tie in there, Dave.
They're getting smarter at it because like a decade ago, you might remember they were buying the IP for like Hasbro toy stuff. They were doing Battleship, and I think they were trying to make Candyland. Just like random board games,
oh my gosh,
right?
Battleship was garbage.
But now I think they're getting a little bit wiser with it. The Five Nights at Freddy's is insane, and I'm sure it wouldn't take that much research. You just go in the toy aisle. What actually is still out there, and you could probably find some IPs worth making.
Here's a dumb idea. Okay, dumb idea, guys.
Yeah.
$1 billion dumb idea. Minecraft movie.
Yeah.
Why is that not a thing?
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
Do you remember when I think it was Brandon from the Corridor Digital guys, like he did like a Kickstarter to make the Minecraft movie?
No,
I remember
no.
it was like and I think Notch was like no.
No.
Like,
No. But now it's Microsoft. Like, how is
funny.
Microsoft not making a deal with Universal or something to do a Minecraft movie, like an adventure, action adventure film?
They've done
where they're
Halo
trying to
stuff,
kill...
right? Like Halo.
Isn't
there a show?
good
Halo
property.
show?
Halo was a good property. It's kind of dead now.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
I don't think it's really got that much excitement anymore.
I'm surprised
the
Assassin's
Minecraft to
Creed
be
wasn't
huge.
treated better. I kind of like the movie because I love Assassin's Creed.
I didn't.
No, well,
Yeah, I thought the
it's
movie
kind of
was
like one of
bad.
those movies I liked because I liked the IP, not because it was good. It was not
Yeah,
very good.
it was
But I
very
feel like that had so much potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. I often just like avoid things like that when I just don't want to sit through the disappointment or of making this kind of sullying the brand or something like that. But I have gotten better at, I feel like, ignoring a movie. Like I can now just ignore a film if I don't like it. It's just not canon in my mind, and I'm
like
very
Indiana
happy
Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, exactly.
doesn't
It's just
count.
sort of doesn't
Dial
count,
of
and
Destiny or
that's
whatever,
fine.
where he's just
Yeah.
just old.
He's AI. He's AI for half the movie. Like, dude, that new Indiana Jones movie. Don't get me started. He's
Really?
a computer generated character for like half of the stupid thing.
I felt like they
man.
did well with the AI stuff. It felt realistic to me. Maybe it's just because I don't notice
Too much
as well.
uncanny valley in the eyes. Like they look.
I'm not
so
saying it was
eyes are
good,
so
but I thought it was better
tough,
than I
yeah.
expected. Like how well it was
Yeah.
done. But maybe it's just because I just don't know that stuff. Like
An
you guys.
idiot. Yes.
Yes, I am not a smart man.
You're not a smart man. Well, okay, so part of like the thing I'm most excited about is that sometimes we're gonna have to watch movies we do not want to watch, and I think that's kind of fun. Like we have to get analytical about like the Barbie movie or something, which I'm not that interested. Although Carrie, I think you went and saw that one, but
Yeah.
but just in
I
general,
would
like
watch Barbie. Yeah.
AI is going to give us some movies that we're all like, oh.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be so funny to have to
probably
like,
not
be
gonna
like,
be like-
yes, I watched
It's
it.
not going to be another movie that's like Barrett's favorite, and you've read the book 6 times. You know, we're probably not getting
it's
that.
Probably
again.
not every
Yeah,
week.
like oh man, that's
That was
what a way
lucky.
to start.
Unless they
That's
do
such a
Cat in
funny
the
way.
Hat, I haven't read anything 6 times.
Green Eggs and Ham, the
Same.
film.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think
More
I'm with you
eggs,
there,
more
Kate.
ham.
Okay, so I want to share my screen, and we're gonna ask it to pick a movie for us.
And
for
we
next
want to
week.
invite everybody to watch it with us, right?
Yeah, watch it with us so you can be part of the conversation. So this is it's something cool about ChatGPT. It's conversational, so it's gonna remember this whole thing about the podcast. It's all up here, like everything I've asked it about the podcast. So I'm gonna say, "Hey ChatGPT, oops, we finished our first episode, kind of. What movie should we review next week? Do you want to make it from a certain time period, or do you want to just let it do whatever this week? Do you want to pick a genre, or should we just go buck wild? and let it pick?
So it's kind of interesting the fact that it picked Blade Runner. I mean, we all thought that was kind of funny, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess from that perspective, I almost do want to see just
What it
without
picks
any
next.
restraints. Yeah, just what
Okay.
it just decides to pick
All right.
next.
All right.
Rolling
Let's
the
press
dice.
button. Rolling the dice,
Just
baby.
random.
Let's see what it says.
Oh,
come on.
Of course.
I called it.
2001: A Space Odyssey. I've never seen this. I've never
you-
seen
can
it.
you
I've
pull up
seen
my
scenes
text?
of it.
Can you, like, I don't know, you know, in the
Dude,
group
yeah.
text that when I was joking
Yeah.
about this, I bet
Yeah.
you the next movie it's going to pick is, and I think I typed 2001 Space Odyssey.
Oh,
I mean,
let
it's
me
not
look.
like,
You
it's an
might have.
obvious joke, I thought, because it's like,
Dude, that's crazy. Okay, so
kinda
next
wanna
week,
see
reasons for
though.
choosing the most
have never
superior
seen
film
it.
of all time. It's because,
by Stanley. This is another one of like Barrett's favorite movies of all time, isn't it?
Well, let me, if it's
But,
Disney,
yes, but-
Mighty
but the
Ducks
main thing-
2, please. Mighty Ducks 2. Mighty Ducks 2. I love it. V2,
so
baby.
the main reason it's so funny though is because it's all about AI. Like this whole
AI
movie
is-
so
we
funny.
might
So
just
it's
get the computers are trying to tell us something, guys. We need to listen.
it's the most
Should
AI
we say
movie.
it? You seem to be biased towards
no,
AI
no.
films.
See, it probably can already read your text that you're typing in. Have you
Dang
thought
it.
about
Okay,
that?
don't write it. Don't write it. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's too late. It knows.
Okay, so what we'll do, we're going to
it's
do this because I've never seen this. I've always wanted to see this. Maybe next week we'll say, like, choose a non-cinematic masterpiece. like, don't
Or
choose
a
one of
not-
the best movies in the world.
Or a
It's going to give us like
self-inflating kind of
Beethoven the Fourth.
What's the most like human movie you can think of that's like the most opposite of AI? So it doesn't even care about that, you know. I'm interested in something that.
Do you think it's trying to make us fall in love with AI? Like it's getting us ready. It's prepping us.
Yeah, I
maybe
feel
we found
empathy
a side
towards
sort of,
ChatGPT right now.
Plot thread here.
And you know, if it made advances, I might make love with it.
Well, if it looked like Rachel Rosen Tyrell, you probably would make love with it. Let's be real. Maybe not the hairdo. So it says reasons for choosing A Space Odyssey. Cinematic masterpiece. It's considered one of the greatest films in cinematic history, which is true. Deep themes. The film explores profound.
It's got AI in it. It's got
lots of AI.
Deep themes. The film explores profound themes of human evolution, AI, and the mysteries of the universe. Like, what the heck?
AI Pics. It's got a mind of its
Pics
own.
only AI movies. Oh my god.
What was your original prompt for like the first movie? What did you ask it?
I said, ChatGPT, me and my friends are going to start a new movie review podcast, but we need your help. We want you to pick movies that we review. Can you please pick the first movie?
Okay. So you just gave it a totally open-ended thing.
It's a great way to start the podcast, by the way, Dave. That right there.
Well, I left out something I said that maybe is part of the problem here, guys. I kind of left it out because I was like, maybe I shouldn't have written that. But let me show you. I'm going to come out and show you this right here. Okay. Maybe it's confused because I said this third line. We want you, artificial intelligence, to pick the movie that we want to review. Do you think it's then going for artificial intelligence because I wrote the word?
If we get that Haley Joel Osment movie AI coming up next,
oh gosh, that was so boring.
Then we know.
I don't want to watch that crap. Okay, so how about next week we agree that we're gonna say, don't pick an AI movie. Pick a movie with no artificial intelligence. But yeah, that's pretty funny. Okay,
that's pretty funny. Yeah.
What's cool is I've never seen this.
I kind of want to see it though, so maybe it knew we wanted to see it.
Yeah,
no, I mean, so if we're talking like, you know, meditative sort of stuff, you know, like, and sort of drawn out sort of stuff.
It's slow, right? It's super slow.
It's like maybe on a different level than that.
Oh gosh, it's gonna hurt because I struggle with that. I've got this thing called ADHD, hence the name ADHD Dave, guys. So I might struggle with it. But this was the first episode of AI Pics podcast. Subscribe if you liked it. We're gonna try to bring you an episode every single week. And yeah, anything else to say, guys, before we sign off?
You're welcome.
It's a lot of fun.
You're welcome.